Who is Coda? Does Coda exist? What is the meaning of this game? At the end of the beginner's guide, I couldn't help but sit at my computer blankly and ponder these questions to myself. This game will do that to you. And so I decided to share my thoughts. To begin, let's start with the question, does Coda exist? Is he a real person? I noticed a few comments at the end of my walkthrough constructively arguing that Coda is not real, and is instead a fictional character used to emphasize the moral of the game. However, the whole time I took his existence literally, and recognized Coda as a real person. So first, let's talk about the game on the assumption that Coda is not real. If Coda is not real, then his creation must have derived from somewhere, and some believe that Davey is Coda. So what does that mean? Basically, it can mean that Davey is describing himself, probably sometime after the creation of the Stanley Parable. On Davey's blog, thegalacticcafe.com, he discusses his life following the Stanley Parable and how much his life was affected negatively as a result of it. He discussed that while he received so much positive feedback, he also received plenty of negative feedback as well, which sent him into a state of depression. Quote, "I began to forget why I liked the game. I was losing the thing I had created. So I withdrew. I basically checked out of the world, told people I'm just going to be by myself for a while." All of this seems to coincide a bit with the story and overall moral of the beginner's guide. Forgetting why he liked making games in the first place and losing the thing he created can be compared to the metaphorical machine that kept Coda going but for some reason stopped, and Coda doesn't know why. Davey goes on to say that the financial success of the Stanley Parable did nothing to make his insecurities go away, and while he wanted to express his opinions earlier, he was afraid of even more online backlash. Therefore, the creation of Coda may be considered a personality that Davey has, which desires creativity more than anything in his games. However, that personality struggles with another which longs for external validation. The creation of the Stanley Parable could have therefore created this rift in his thinking, and caused Davey to lean more on the Coda side of his personality. The external validation created from the Stanley Parable, though mostly positive, did lead to some negative comments, which ultimately resulted in Davey withdrawing from reality a bit. This leads him to the creation of the games we see in the beginner's guide. Games made for him. Games that only his eyes would see. And therefore the beginner's guide can be seen as a fight between two thoughts in one person's mind. This is Davey forcing Coda out into the light. Forcing Coda to experience some external validation in the hopes that it will make him happy and driven like he was before the Stanley Parable, though ultimately it could just make things worse. Now with that way of thinking behind us, let's discuss whether or not Coda is a real person. On the website ohnovideogames.com, there is a podcast titled Laura and Matt Chat. One of these episodes focuses around the beginner's guide, and during that discussion Laura claims to have spoken with Davey Reedon regarding the recent game. Reedon said he would unfortunately be unable to discuss the game in detail, but he did have a few things to say. When speaking to Laura, he said that yes, the beginner's guide is dramatized to some degree, however much of it is accurate. He even said the person Coda exists. Though Coda is not the developer's actual name, the games were created by this person, and Reedon admits to monetizing and distributing these games, most likely against Coda's will. Laura's announcement of this finding was quickly followed by Matt's denial, and that is perfectly okay. We do not 100% know if Laura truly talked to Reedon in the first place, and even if this conversation existed, it's unknown whether or not Reedon was speaking the truth. When all is said and done, we may never know if Coda is a real person. But here are my thoughts. Coda is real. Coda is, or should I say was, a true friend of Davey Reedon. They most likely met at a time when Davey was a bit low, a time where he really needed something to feel good about, and he essentially used Coda to do so. In the beginner's guide, Davey mentions that the first game he saw of Coda's was the quote, online game, where people could put little bits of thought into bubbles that other people could read, and with this he learned that Coda and him were much alike, yet completely different at the same time. Coda could be happy making games for the sole purpose of his own entertainment. He did not need nor desire any form of external validation, and instead created games mainly to express his own imagination and creativity. David, on the other hand, desired external validation, yet was haunted by the thought of not being accepted or liked. This was the difference in their characters that kept Davey so fixated on Coda.
I'm sorry. Please, start making games again. Please help me. Please give me some of whatever it is that makes you complete. I want whatever that wholeness is that you just summoned out of nothing and you put into your work. You were complete in some way that I never was.
This completeness that Davey desires is that Coda possesses a mindset that Davey does not have, that one could just be happy in a world many would consider lonely. Davey assumes that Coda is depressed, assumes that Coda is struggling, but even when we see the machine that stopped working and the ongoing prison game after prison game after prison game, what Coda is doing is either one of two things. He's either creating games which don't directly mirror his current mindset, or he's making games to help show Davey what his own problem is. That Davey is struggling because his machine stopped. His desire is no longer there. He's battling with the catch-22 that no matter what, anything released to the public will be met with both positive and negative thoughts. Coda has this issue as well, but his answer is simple. Don't show it to the public. Don't release it. Put it in a folder on your C drive and keep it there. The games he creates are for him. And now we all know the works that Coda has been making. The one thing that Coda wanted to keep sacred has been shattered in the hopes that the message might somehow cause a conversation between the two again. But remember, the moral of the game is to separate the developer's work from the developer themselves. Throwing negative comments at reading is not the point of this. We do not know what the truth is. All we know is that this game, while only being 1.5 hours long, should help people understand that developers are people too. When you're talking to somebody online, that person is a person with feelings, a person with doubts, someone who desires to be liked and accepted. Negative comments cause negative results. Be nice to people. Don't assume you know what's wrong. Ask. You just might be surprised by the answer. Alright everyone, I'm going to be ending that there. Thank you all so much for checking this out. If you have some thoughts on this game, I'd really love to hear them, so please leave a comment and I will get back to you. I really enjoyed this game and thank you all for recommending it to me. With that, if you enjoyed this theory and thoughts video, then please leave a like. It helps me out a lot. Also, please subscribe for more videos in the future. I will see you all in the next one. Stay awesome, guys.